A year ago, I watched as a third grader reached down in a school cafeteria and selected a carton of chocolate milk. A second crate, mostly empty and harder to reach, of white milk was placed behind that crate of chocolate milk. I watched as 250 other students selected the same chocolate milk. Only 18 selected the white milk. The school staff said they placed the crates like that because the students preferred the chocolate milk. They filled the crates like that with it mostly full of chocolate milk, mostly empty with the white milk, because again, that's what the students preferred. But could they have, inadvertently nudged the students toward the less healthy chocolate milk by how they designed that decision environment? My colleagues and I used a stealth health strategy to find out, and we reversed the situation. So now when the students came into the cafeteria line, they were greeted by an overflowing crate of white milk, easy to reach. Behind it now was a second crate, mostly empty, of the chocolate milk, harder to reach. With that simple design change, 1 out of 5 of those students were nudged to voluntarily switch from their chocolate milk choice to the more healthy white milk choice. This modest experiment is an example of the application of behavioral economics. Behavioral economics is the understanding of the biases that exist in our decision environments that can nudge us to one decision versus another decision, and the use of that information to help explain why we might make less than beneficial decisions for our health. We're all aware nowadays that the world is facing a obesity epidemic and crisis levels of diabetes, heart disease, and high blood pressure. 40% of our youth and 2/3 of our adults, 66%, are either overweight or obese in industrialized countries, and those rates are continuing to climb. The kids that are 40% now overweight, that rate is expected to increase to 80% by the time they reach adulthood. Think about the enormity of that situation, the implications of that situation. Like many others, I've had my own up-close and personal experience with this issue. Both of my parents were obese. My father died of diabetes in his mid-40s. My mother died of heart disease in her mid-50s. I myself was overweight my entire growing up years here in Chico. The situation in kids is particularly disturbing because weight pushes up blood pressure at all ages. And among kids, those at the highest end of the weight continuum in the obese category, more than 1/3 already experience elevated blood pressure, and that's by 5th grade. The cost of obesity in terms of human burden and healthcare dollars makes this one of the world's most urgent public health problems. It's thought that the situation is based on a fairly modest excess of about 140 calories per day. That's the amount that we see in a can of soda. In today's world, we have so many stimuli to overconsume and to be sedentary that it's almost impossible for the average person to maintain a healthy weight. We live in an obesogenic world. It's not about willpower. Soda and sweetened beverages are at the heart of the issue because, as I mentioned, a can of soda with that 140 calories in it, that's about the average excess we consume per day, forms the greatest contributor to the obesity epidemic. And it's not just soda. It's all forms of sweetened beverages. An example, if a child drinks 2 cans of soda per day or 24 ounces or more, or a serving like in a cup, a 24-ounce cup from a store or restaurant, that child typically weighs 10 pounds more than a child who consumes less than 2 cans of soda per day. Soda is a strong predictor of excess weight. Back in the 70s, when this situation was just developing, a 21-ounce serving was about the biggest serving you could find anywhere. Nowadays, a 21-ounce serving is the smallest serving you can find anywhere. As serving sizes have increased body sizes have increased right along with them. Now, a traditional form of governance would consider something like a ban on the largest serving sizes, what's happening in New York and Boston and other cities around the world. What I'm talking about is the use of behavioral economics, a more libertarian approach to the issue, and the building of nudges into our decision environments to nudge us toward a healthier choice. An example of the ban, where you remove the largest serving size, can be effective. I've used French fries to exemplify the situation because French fries are the most commonly consumed vegetable once a person reaches age 1. Now, a ban on a large serving size is easy to circumvent. You could get around it by just ordering 2 smaller servings, right? But a ban makes use of what behavioral economists refer to as the default bias. The default is the selection that the average person would see as typical or standard or the automatic choice. So in this slide of French fries, which one would you think would be like the default selection? If you're thinking the medium fries, you're right. Well, a ban would remove the largest serving size from the set, whether it's French fries or sodas. And then we'd have to rethink what we think is the default selection. And that removal of the largest serving would now make the medium seem larger, and why that small serving size might seem more reasonable. And so we'd have to shift what we perceive to be the default serving size maybe to something that existed a couple of decades ago. Well, let's apply the concept of behavioral economics to the situation rather than a ban. We'd want to make the nudge that we build into the decision environment more effortful if it's going to be geared toward a less healthy decision, and less effortful toward a more healthy decision. Let's think of a vending machine. You'd want to nudge people to the helpful choices, so you'd put them where they're easiest to reach, like shoulder height in the vending machine, and crowd the less healthy choices down low on the bottom shelf, so the customer has to make more effort to bend down, see what's there, and make a selection. That's the nudge. Or how about in a corner store? It could be that the largest serving offered of a sweet drink in a corner store is 24 ounces. If a customer wants more because they're used to the 36 ounce or the 44 ounce, they can pay now and come back for a refill. That takes effort. Well, if they don't want to make the effort, the vendor benefits because they made more money on the sale. Well, the customer benefits too, fewer calories from that purchase. Or another option, again in a corner store, is that the vendor could place the largest, super ginormous serving sizes up high and out of reach of some customers. Say, for example, children. Think about it. Should children really be able to get 36 cubes of sugar per soda serving? We've taken sugar and fat and put it in everything, everywhere, and made it socially acceptable to have all the time. And too often, we can't use our personal choices to make decisions because the options available to us are biased toward the unhealthy end of the continuum. Think about sporting events and what you have available to choose from at a sporting event. Or how about back at the corner store? Is it really freedom to choose when foods like these form the bulk of our choices? Now, the food industry would argue, people are in control. They choose what they want and they consume what they want. But could it be that the physical architecture or the cues provided in that decision environment affect what we select? Let's look at an example. Researchers put a bowl of M&Ms. Okay, coming along. Researchers put a bowl of M&Ms in the entrance to a large apartment building and put a sign on it that said, "Eat your fill." On the first day, they put in a tablespoon as a serving utensil. Every other day, they swapped out the tablespoon and they used a scoop that was 4 times larger. Now, if the food industry is correct, people would take the same amount from day to day. After all, they know how much they want to select. The serving utensil size wouldn't have any impact. What do you think happened? Wild guess. Turns out that the size of that serving utensil had a dramatic impact on how much people took, and they took significantly more on the days that there was a scoop in the bowl rather than the tablespoon, and that people do not have a fixed idea of how much they'll select. Think of another environment, like maybe taking a small child to the store to do some shopping. The physical architecture of what that child sees down here is a world apart from what we see up here. People are pretty easily manipulated. In today's obesogenic world, we need supersized knowledge plus supersized willpower to maintain a healthy weight in our supersizing world. It's not working. We know what to do, but we need help making the default decision a healthier decision. We need to stop blaming. And we need to come up with collaborative solutions, like nudges. Enough nudges and a habit can form. For example, you're told as a child to brush your teeth. You're told enough times, it becomes a habit. You do it without even thinking. Or enough nudges as a child and to take the stairs, and you become a stair taker for life. Okay, this use of nudges and behavioral economics may seem like we might be the subjects of an elaborate social experiment. But think about it. Haven't we been the subjects of an elaborate social experiment by the food industry for decades? Think about toys in meals. Toys sell children's meals, and the food industry knows that. And here's what the typical meal looks like. You've got the burger, the fries, the soda, and the toy. The toy is the nudge. Would children be likely to select a healthier meal if it had that nudge, that toy? Even if the meal looked like this, where the French fries are swapped out for apple slices and the soda is swapped out for water? Well, the food industry now knows the answer is yes. That toy, that nudge works. For kids, a toy is an effective nudge. Well, what would be an effective nudge for adults? For many adults, it's information. You give adults information, they'll act. They'll respond in a manner that's sort of predictable, making healthier choices, like, for example, putting calories on menus. Calories go up on menus, the number of calories per order has gone down. And coincidentally, this week, the soda industry announced that they're going to start putting the calories on the front of vending machine choices. So we will have that information there as well. Nudges work. Let's leave this scenario and go to where we started, back in a school setting. This meal is not the most popular or common high school meal because it's the most preferred. Student surveys tell us this is the most common high school meal because these are the two foods, French fries and pizza, that the cafeteria never runs out of. And the pizza line is the fastest line. Well, if convenience is the basis for the decision in that environment, then we need to make convenience the focus of that decision point. Lately, the workplace has been targeted because the sitting disease is in the news. The sitting disease tells us that if you sit more than 7.5 hours per day, we are getting up during the day now and then, that's a risk factor for a shorter life, on par with obesity and smoking. So employers are trying to think of ways to get employees up and out of their chairs. Well, let's take a look at a typical workplace. This is my workplace. It's a typical building. It's 2 stories high. And the physical architecture of that building is like other buildings. Right inside the front door is the elevator. See? Right there. Would employees be less likely to take the elevator if the building were designed so the elevator were further away from the entrance and instead they were greeted by a welcoming set of stairs? Well, they would. But hey, it's only 2 stories. It's 16 steps to the 2nd floor. Would that make an impact? Let's look at that. If an employee took the stairs 3 times per day instead of the elevator, over a year, they would burn the calories in 1 pound. Doesn't seem like much, but the average employee gains 1 pound per year every year that they work between age 25 and 65. That's an average of a 40-pound weight gain. Well, taking the stairs takes on a whole new meaning when you put it in that form. And it looks like small steps can make a big difference over time. And how we design that decision environment matters a lot. When these stairs were turned into piano stairs, that's pretty creative. They actually make music. Stair use went up 8-fold. Employers have begun adopting the use of nudges again to get employees out of their chairs and healthcare costs down. Some of the nudges have become quite compelling. Take a look at these 2 interactive posters. This young lady is at her decision point. She can take the elevator, and that one poster closest to her reflects her weight, should she do that, as 10 pounds higher. If she were to take the stairs, the second interactive poster reflects her weight 10 pounds less. She's deciding what to do. Compelling. There's other things workplaces can do and adopt as common practices to get employees out of their chairs. One is that when you get a phone call, you stand up for the phone call. Another one, for short meetings, you stand up rather than sit down. For small group meetings, walk and talk instead of sit and talk. Or if it's a long meeting, stretch breaks at the midpoint. This whole concept of physical architecture and nudges transcends into the home too. A couple of examples. People who live in homes where you walk in the front door and you're immediately in the kitchen weigh significantly more than people who have to walk through the home to get to the kitchen. Design matters. Or another example. People who live in homes where there is a high-calorie, like salty, fat-rich snack available on the kitchen counter weigh an average 20 pounds more than people who do not have those snacks readily available on the kitchen counter. Let's look at how design can affect the rest of our public lives, like how we design our communities. Programs like Complete the Streets and Safe Routes to Schools have some things in common. You have the road, bike path, some kind of a green strip, hopefully with shade, and a sidewalk broad enough for 3 people to walk abreast. A design like that significantly increases physical activity among its residents, and at the same time reduces traffic and, reliance on cars and air pollution and all of those things. How about with the design of kids' playgrounds in community parks and schoolyards? The use of a natural playscape doubles the amount of time that kids are physically active in that playground compared to the time they spend being physically active in our more traditional, with the swing set and the jungle gym kind of playground. We need to rethink what we think people want. People do not want to sit all day at work, surveys tell us. They do not want to have to choose from so many poor choices. They don't want to be fat or have diabetes, and neither do kids. We cannot continue business as usual. It's good business when it's more convenient to park a bike than a car, and it's more convenient and less expensive to access cold, fresh water than sweet drinks. As Bill Clinton said, people who run companies and design decision environments are smart. They want their young customers to keep buying their products right through middle ages. They don't want to kill them off with diabetes and heart disease. Let's reform the norm to one where everyone can expect opportunities for healthy food and active living everywhere. So, where do we come in? As dreamers, thinkers, and doers, we are the choice architects. We are obligated to question how we can design our decision environment so that the default choice is a healthier choice. As dreamers, thinkers, and doers, we need to contribute whatever we can, whenever we can, wherever we can, and encourage innovative thinking about how we design our decision environments. Thoughtful designs can nudge us to healthier choices.